What if I told you that in just 90 days, you could become completely unrecognizable? Not just on the outside, but in how you think, how you move, how you handle pressure. What if 3 months from now, the version of you who hesitates, who second guesses, who gets distracted, was gone, and in their place stood someone sharper, stronger, and unstoppable? That's not a fantasy. That's a decision. And if you're ready to make the next 90 days the most transformative season of your life, then you need to lock in right now. Because what comes next is the blueprint. This isn't hype. This is how you rewire your identity, step by step, day by day. But before we dive in, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this is where your old self ends and your new life begins. Let's go. There comes a moment in life when you realize that change isn't just something you hope for. It's something you decide. Not a vague wish, not a someday dream, but a real, unshakable choice. And that moment is where transformation begins. Imagine looking back 90 days from now and realizing the person you used to be, hesitant, distracted, stuck in old habits, no longer exists. In their place stands someone sharper, stronger, and utterly unrecognizable. That's not magic. That's not luck. That's the result of a single decision followed by relentless action. Most people spend their lives waiting for motivation, waiting for the perfect time, waiting for some external force to push them forward. But the truth is, motivation is a liar. It comes and goes like the wind. Discipline, on the other hand, is the unshakable foundation of real change. Discipline doesn't ask if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're not in the mood. It moves forward because that's what it was built to do. And the beautiful thing? Discipline is a choice. It's a muscle you strengthen every single day until it becomes who you are. This journey starts with one non-negotiable rule. You must burn the old blueprint. The version of you that second guesses, that procrastinates, that settles, that person doesn't get a seat at the table anymore. You don't negotiate with weakness. You don't entertain excuses. You declare war on the habits that have held you back. And you do it with a level of commitment that leaves no room for retreat. Because here's the hard truth. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the fire of consistency, in the daily grind of showing up even when every part of you wants to quit. Think about it. 90 days is enough time to rewire your identity. It's enough time to build habits so ingrained that they feel automatic. It's enough time to silence the voice that says, I can't, and replace it with, I am. But none of this happens by accident. It happens because you decide, right here and now, that the next 90 days will be different. You won't just dip your toes in. You'll dive in head first and refuse to come up for air until the work is done. This isn't about grand gestures or overnight success. It's about the quiet, daily acts of discipline that compound over time. It's about waking up early when no one's watching. It's about choosing the gym over the couch, the book over the scroll, the deep work over the distraction. Every single day, you stack small wins, proof that you're not who you used to be. And with each win, your brain starts to believe it. You stop trying to become disciplined. You simply are disciplined. But here's the catch. The moment you commit, resistance will show up. It will whisper that you're tired, that you've earned a break, that tomorrow is a better day to start. That's not your voice. That's the ghost of the old you fighting to stay alive. And your job is to star that ghost. Every time you push through resistance, you strengthen the new version of yourself. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you rewrite your identity. So let me ask you, are you ready to burn the old blueprint? Are you ready to stop negotiating with yourself and start building something undeniable? Because the next 90 days aren't just a countdown, they're your rebirth. And it all starts with a single decision. No more excuses. No more half-hearted effort. No more old you. The bridge is burned. The path is clear. All that's left is to move forward. The difference between those who change and those who stay stuck isn't talent, luck, or even intelligence. It's structure. Without a clear system, motivation fades, discipline crumbles, and old habits creep back in. That's why real transformation requires more than just desire. It requires a framework so solid that failure becomes harder than success. Over the next 90 days, your life will revolve around 4 non-negotiable pillars: mind, body, mission, and stillness. These aren't suggestions. They're the bedrock of the new you. Miss one, and the entire structure weakens. Master all 4, and you'll emerge unrecognizable. Let's start with the first pillar, mind. You cannot outperform your own thoughts. Most people live on autopilot, consuming whatever the world throws at them. Endless scrolling, gossip, negativity, noise. Their minds are cluttered, distracted, and weak. But not yours. Not anymore. For the next 90 days, you will spend 1 hour every single day deliberately feeding your mind. This isn't passive entertainment. It's active cultivation. You'll read books that challenge you, write down insights that stretch you, and reflect deeply on who you're becoming. This hour is about upgrading your mental operating system, replacing junk with wisdom, fear with strategy, and doubt with clarity. Think of it as sharpening your greatest weapon, because when your mind changes, everything changes. Your decisions become sharper. Your focus becomes unbreakable. Your vision extends beyond the immediate to the extraordinary. The second pillar is body. Your physical energy dictates your mental resilience. A weak body breeds a weak mind. Fatigue, distraction, and excuses thrive where discipline falters. For the next 90 days, you will move daily, no exceptions. 30 minutes minimum, ideally 60. Run, lift, box, stretch, hike. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you sweat. This isn't about aesthetics. It's about building an unshakable foundation of energy and discipline. Every drop of sweat is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every rep is proof that you don't negotiate with weakness. Over time, your body stops being a limitation and becomes an amplifier, carrying not just your weight but your standards. You'll stand taller, speak firmer, and handle pressure differently because your body isn't just stronger. It's a reflection of your commitment. Then comes the third pillar, mission. This is where most people fail. They wake up and let life happen to them, reacting instead of building. You won't. For 90 days, you'll dedicate at least 90 uninterrupted minutes to your craft, your calling, your dream. No distractions, no scrolling, no half effort. If you're a writer, you write. If you're a builder, you build. If you're still searching for your purpose, then your mission is to find it through reading, experimenting, and taking action until clarity arrives. Most people never give their goals 90 focus minutes a week, let alone a day. That's why they stay stuck. But you'll stack 105 hours of deep work in just 70 days, the equivalent of a part-time job's worth of mastery. This is where legacies are built, not in grand gestures, but in daily, disciplined effort. Finally, the fourth pillar, stillness. In a world addicted to noise, silence is your superpower. For at least 10 to 20 minutes every day, you'll disconnect completely. No phone, no input, no stimulation. Just you, your breath, and your thoughts. This isn't wasted time. It's the sharpening of your focus. Stillness is where stress dissolves, ideas form, and clarity emerges. Most people can't sit in silence for 5 minutes without reaching for their phone. That's how addicted they are to distraction. But you'll train your mind to find power in quiet. You'll learn to observe your thoughts without reacting, to detach from chaos and reconnect with purpose. This daily practice will rewire your nervous system, making you calmer, more decisive, and radically present. These 4 pillars, mind, body, mission, stillness, are not separate. They're interconnected. A strong mind fuels your mission. A strong body sustains your focus. Stillness grounds your energy. Together, they create a feedback loop of growth. But here's the critical rule: no negotiation. You don't skip days. You don't move the goalposts. You don't let fatigue or boredom dictate your effort. If you miss a workout, you double down the next day. If you skip deep work, you make it up at night. There's no perfect time. There's only the relentless commitment to showing up day after day until discipline becomes identity. This is how you engineer a transformation, not through motivation, not through luck, but through a system so airtight that failure has no room to breathe. The next 90 days will test you. There will be resistance, boredom, and moments when quitting feels easier. But remember, discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the price of the next version of you. And when you emerge on the other side, you won't just feel different. You'll be different. The world won't recognize you. But more importantly, neither will the person you used to be. The most profound transformations don't happen through temporary bursts of effort. They happen when daily action rewires your identity at a subconscious level. This is a hidden science behind the 90-day journey. You're not just changing habits. You're dismantling an old self and assembling a new one brick by brick through ritual and repetition. The human brain operates on patterns. It craves predictability. Every time you repeat an action, you carve a neural pathway. Do it once, and it's an anomaly. Do it consistently without fail, and it becomes who you are. This is why 90 days matters. It's long enough to move beyond trying and into being. Consider this. Right now, your behaviors are expressions of your current identity. You procrastinate because you see yourself as someone who struggles with discipline. You second guess because you identify as someone who lacks confidence. But what if you flip the script? What if, instead of waiting to feel like a disciplined person before acting like one, you acted first and let the feelings follow? This is the golden rule of identity change. Behavior shapes belief, not the other way around. When you force yourself to wake up at 5 a.m. for 90 straight days, even when every cell in your body resists, something profound happens. At first, you're just going through the motions. But around day 30, a shift occurs. You start waking up before the alarm. By day 60, it feels unnatural to stay in bed. And by day 90, you don't try to wake up early anymore. You simply are an early riser. The behavior has rewritten the identity. This principle applies to every aspect of your transformation. Want to become someone who never misses workouts? Don't wait for motivation. Act first. The first week will feel like play acting. The second week, slightly less forced. But by the third month, skipping the gym will feel like betraying who you are. This is the magic of what psychologists call self-signaling. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you send subconscious proof that this is who I am now. Miss a day, and you reinforce the old identity. Show up relentlessly, and the new identity hardens like concrete. But here's where most people fail. They underestimate the power of environment in shaping identity. Your surroundings are constant feedback loop telling you who you are. A cluttered workspace whispers that you're disorganized. A phone filled with distraction apps screams that you're someone who tolerates interruptions. That's why the 90-day lock-in demands environmental engineering. You must design spaces that reflect your future self, not your past. Delete social media apps, not temporarily, but with the finality of someone who no longer lives on that frequency. Clear your workspace of everything unrelated to your mission. Create a morning ritual space where the only options are reading, journaling, or planning. No distractions allowed. When your environment aligns with your aspirations, half the battle is already won. The true test comes in what I call the identity crucible. Those moments when your old self fights desperately to resurface. It happens around day 45, when boredom sets in. The novelty is worn off. The results aren't visible yet, and your brain starts whispering, "This isn't working. Maybe you should quit." This is the fork in the road where most transformations die. They mistake the plateau for failure. But you'll recognize this as the most important phase, the proving ground where real change is cemented. When you push through the boredom, you're not just building discipline. You're proving to yourself that your commitment isn't dependent on external validation or quick results. This is how true identity forms. Not in the fireworks of initial enthusiasm, but in the quiet grind of middle chapters where only the committed remain. Language plays a crucial but often overlooked role in this process. The words you use about yourself, both aloud and internally, are identity-shaping spells. Stop saying, "I'm trying to wake up early," and declare, "I am an early riser." Eliminate, "I hope to build this business," and replace it with, "I am a builder." These aren't affirmations. They're declarations of fact. Your subconscious mind believes what you consistently tell it. Feed it doubt, and it will manifest hesitation. Feed it certainty, and it will engineer your behavior to match. The final piece is perhaps the most counterintuitive. You must stop monitoring progress. Obsessing over daily results is the enemy of transformation. Muscle growth happens during rest, not the workout. Skill mastery consolidates between practice sessions, not during them. Similarly, your identity shift will occur in the spaces between conscious effort. When your subconscious mind processes the thousands of micro-proofs you fed it through relentless action. Trust the system. The mind hates cognitive dissonance. If you consistently act like the person you want to become, your psyche will eventually align to make it true, often in sudden, unexpected breakthroughs around day 75 when everything clicks. This is the alchemy of the 90-day journey. Through perfect repetition of the right rituals, you don't just change what you do, you change what you believe about yourself at the deepest level. And once that belief shifts, the external world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your new reality. People will remark on how different you seem without being able to pinpoint why. Opportunities will appear as if out of nowhere, but you'll know the truth. You didn't find a new life. You built a new self, and the life simply reflected back what you had already become. Every meaningful transformation in history has been birthed through struggle. The friction you feel when trying to change isn't an obstacle. It's the forge where your new self is being hammered into existence. Most people misinterpret resistance as a red light, a signal to stop or retreat. But the warriors, the builders, the ones who reshape their destinies, they recognize resistance for what it truly is, a green light confirming they're on the right path. This understanding separates those who transform from those who merely try. Over these 90 days, you won't just face resistance. You'll learn to weaponize it, to let it sculpt you into someone capable of achieving what your current self can't yet imagine. Let's dissect resistance's anatomy. It appears in 3 predictable waves during your 90-day journey, each testing a different weakness. The first wave crashes around days 7 to 10, the death of the honeymoon phase. The initial excitement fades, leaving only the raw reality of daily discipline. Your brain, addicted to quick dopamine hits, will stage a mutiny. This is too hard. It will whimper. Maybe you should take a day off. This isn't truth speaking. It's your old identity thrashing against its dying breath. The moment you feel this resistance tighten its grip is the exact moment you must push harder, not with anger, but with the quiet determination of someone who understands. Comfort is the enemy of evolution. Every time you override this resistance, you drain power from your old self and transfer it to the new. The second wave arrives around day 30, the silent killer of boredom. This is where motivation-based efforts go to die. The routines feel stale. The progress seems invisible. Unlike the first wave's loud protests, this resistance whispers with deadly precision. Is this even working? Maybe you should change your approach. Here's the truth most miss. Boredom is an absence of progress. It's progress in disguise. When actions start feeling routine, it means they're becoming habitual. The neural pathways are forming. The identity shift is underway. The people who change their lives aren't those who avoid boredom. They're those who recognize it as the necessary price of mastery. They understand that the magic happens in the monotony. That's where real skill crystallizes, where discipline hardens into identity. Then comes the third and most dangerous wave, around day 60, when resistance masquerades as false victory. You've built momentum. The habits feel easier. You start seeing results. And right then, resistance plays its trump card, complacency. You've done enough. It coaxes. Surely one cheat day won't hurt. This is where past versions of you have faltered, mistaking a battle won for the war being over. But you'll recognize this for the trap it is. Because true transformation isn't about reaching a destination. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need to negotiate with mediocrity ever again. The moment you feel tempted to relax your standards is the moment you must double them. Now, let's arm you with the strategies to not just survive these resistance waves, but to ride them to new heights. The first weapon is what Navy SEALs call the 40% rule. When your mind says you're done, you're actually only 40% depleted. Your perception of limits is a lie constructed by your comfort-seeking brain. During these 90 days, you'll systematically disprove this illusion. When you think you can't possibly wake up earlier, you will. When your body screams to skip the last set, you'll add one more. Each time you push past perceived limits, you expand your actual capacity. After 90 days of this practice, your tolerance for discomfort will be so heightened that what once seemed impossible becomes your new normal. The second weapon is ritualized discomfort. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort, which makes them weak. You'll do the opposite. You'll schedule it. Cold showers first thing in the morning. Occasional 24-hour fasts. Training sessions where you push beyond previous limits. These aren't masochistic exercises. They're neurological training camps. Each voluntary encounter with discomfort weakens resistance's grip. Soon, what once terrified you becomes trivial, and what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. But the ultimate weapon against resistance is what I call identity anchoring. When resistance hits hardest, you don't fight it with willpower. You transcend it by asking one question: what would the person I'm becoming do right now? This mental shift changes everything. The old you negotiates. The new you acts. The old you questions. The new you executes. By day 45, this won't feel like a technique anymore. It will become your default operating system. Here's the beautiful paradox. The more you lean into resistance, the weaker it becomes. The discomfort you avoid is the prison that confines you. The discomfort you embrace becomes a vehicle that liberates you. By day 90, you'll have developed what can only be called reverse resistance, where not working out feels worse than working out, where sleeping in feels more uncomfortable than waking early, where distraction feels more painful than deep focus. This is a hallmark of true transformation, when your brain has been rewired to find comfort in what once caused discomfort. The final truth about resistance: it never fully disappears, nor should it. Every new level of your life will demand a new level of resistance. But after these 90 days, you'll have forged something priceless. The knowledge that resistance isn't your enemy. It's the chisel in the sculptor's hand, the whetstone against the blade, the necessary friction that transforms potential into power. The person who walks out of these 90 days won't just be stronger in spite of resistance. They'll be stronger because of it. And that makes all the difference. The secret weapon of all high achievers isn't talent, luck, or even extraordinary discipline. It's their mastery of the daily ritual. These seemingly small, repeated actions function like compound interest for your character, where tiny, consistent deposits of effort yield exponential returns over time. Most people dramatically overestimate what they can accomplish in a day and tragically underestimate what they can achieve in 90 days of perfectly executed rituals. This is where the real magic happens, not in grand, sweeping gestures, but in the quiet, uncelebrated minutes of your morning routine, your workout session, your focused work block. When you string together enough of these micro wins, they create an unstoppable momentum that carries you past obstacles that would have crushed lesser versions of yourself. Let's dissect the anatomy of a transformational ritual. The most powerful ones share 3 non-negotiable characteristics. They're time-bound, non-negotiable, and identity-reinforcing. Consider the morning ritual. It's not about what you do at 5 a.m. that makes the difference. It's about proving to yourself before the world wakes up that you're someone who keeps promises to yourself. When you roll out of bed while others hit snooze, you're not just gaining time. You're reinforcing the most powerful belief a human can possess: I am in control of my life. This daily affirmation, repeated over 90 days, rewires your subconscious more effectively than any motivational speech ever could. The cold shower that follows isn't about cleanliness. It's a daily baptism into discomfort that trains your nervous system to embrace challenges rather than flee from them. The 10 minutes of journaling isn't just planning. It's a daily council meeting with your future self, aligning your actions with your aspirations. The magic of these rituals lies in their cumulative effect. Reading 10 pages a day seems insignificant until you realize that's 3,000 pages a year, more than most people read in a decade. Writing for 30 minutes daily produces a book-length manuscript in months. 15 minutes of language learning makes you conversational in a new tongue before summer ends. These aren't hypotheticals. They're mathematical certainties. The problem isn't that people don't know this. It's that they refuse to believe small actions matter until they see big results. But here's the truth. Big results are simply small rituals that refuse to quit. Your workout routine provides a perfect metaphor for this principle. The first week, your muscles scream in protest. By week 4, what once felt impossible becomes manageable. At day 60, your body begins craving the movement. This isn't just physical adaptation. It's your entire being reorganizing itself around a new identity. The same transformation occurs with mental rituals. Initially, focusing for 90 minutes feels like holding your breath underwater. By month 2, you enter flow states so deep that time distorts. This isn't willpower. It's neuroplasticity in action, your brain physically rewiring itself to accommodate your new standards. The most underestimated ritual? The evening review. Most people collapse into bed exhausted, only to repeat their mistakes tomorrow. But you'll spend 10 minutes each night conducting what Navy SEALs call a hot wash, a brutally honest assessment of the day. Not self-judgment, but strategic analysis. Where did I compromise? Where did I exceed expectations? What one thing will I improve tomorrow? This practice installs a continuous improvement algorithm in your subconscious. Over time, you stop making the same mistakes twice. Your growth compounds. The true power of rituals reveals itself around day 45, what psychologists call the habit inflection point. This is when your actions stop feeling like chores and start feeling like expressions of who you are. The runner no longer debates whether to train. Running becomes as natural as breathing. The rider no longer fights to start. Words flow like a river that can't be dammed. This transition from external motivation to internal identity is the holy grail of personal transformation. It's the moment when discipline stops being something you do and becomes someone you are. But rituals demand ruthless protection. The world will constantly try to invade them. Emergencies that aren't urgent, requests disguised as requirements, distractions masquerading as opportunities. You must guard your ritual time like a lion guards its cubs. This isn't selfishness. It's strategic prioritization. An airplane's oxygen mask principle applies here. You can't help others if you're unconscious. Those 90 minutes of deep work aren't just for you. They're for everyone who will benefit from the person you're becoming. The morning workout isn't vanity. It's the foundation of the energy you'll pour into your relationships and work. The final, most beautiful aspect of ritual mastery is what it does to your perception of time. Most people live in a constant state of reaction, feeling like time controls them. But when you anchor your days in purposeful rituals, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel like time's master rather than its victim. The frantic rushing stops. The panic recedes. You move through hours with precision of a chess grandmaster, not the desperation of a man trying to outrun a tidal wave. This temporal mastery might be the greatest gift the 90-day journey gives you, the realization that time is your enemy when you know how to wield it. By day 90, these rituals won't just be things you do. They'll be the pillars of your existence, the invisible architecture of your excellence. People will marvel at your discipline without realizing it's no longer effortful for you. What they're witnessing isn't struggle. It's a graceful expression of self that's been meticulously constructed, one intentional day at a time. And when life inevitably tries to knock you off course, as it will, these rituals become your homing beacon, guiding you back to your best self faster than ever before. That's the ultimate power of the ritual, not just to transform you, but to make that transformation permanent. There exists within every human being a dormant potential so vast that its awakening often feels like the death of who you once were. This is the paradox of transformation. You cannot become what you were meant to be without letting go of what you have been. The final stage of your 90-day metamorphosis isn't about adding new habits or skills. It's about the psychological and spiritual rebirth that occurs when you systematically burn away every excuse, every weak version of yourself, every self-imposed limitation that once defined your boundaries. What emerges from these ashes isn't just an improved you. It's someone fundamentally different, operating on an entirely new frequency of existence. This rebirth follows a predictable but rarely discussed trajectory. Around day 75, a profound shift occurs, what neuroscientists call effort inversion. Actions that once required monumental willpower now feel unnatural to skip. Your morning ritual becomes as essential as breathing. Your workout isn't an item on your to-do list. It's the highlight of your day. Deep work sessions transition from grueling marathons to states of flow, so immersive you lose track of time. This isn't merely habit formation. It's a complete rewiring of your reward circuitry. Your brain now derives more pleasure from productive action than from distraction, more satisfaction from creation than consumption. The vices that once tempted you now seem foreign, like relics from someone else's life. This is a neurological evidence of your transformation, when discipline stops feeling like discipline and starts feeling like destiny. But the true magic happens in how this internal shift alters your external reality. As your identity solidifies, the world begins responding to you differently. Opportunities you once would have missed suddenly appear visible. People treat you with a new level of respect, not because you demand it, but because you emit it. Your very presence carries weight. Not the arrogant weight of self-importance, but the quiet gravity of someone who has proven things to themselves. This is what happens when your self-concept upgrades. The universe conspires to reflect back your new beliefs. The job offers, the creative ideas, the chance encounters all begin aligning with your transformed identity, because you're no longer vibrating at the frequency of wanting, but at the frequency of being. The most extraordinary change, however, occurs in your relationship with adversity. The old you saw obstacles as threats. The new you recognizes them as the necessary friction for growth. Where you once avoided difficult conversations, you now initiate them. Where you once crumbled under pressure, you now find your center. Challenges no longer derail you. They excite you, because each one is another opportunity to reinforce who you've become. This is the hallmark of true transformation. Not that life gets easier, but that you become so resilient that what once would have broken you now bends you toward greatness instead. Your language undergoes its own revolution. The tentative "I'll try" disappears from your vocabulary, replaced by the definitive "I will." You stop saying "I can't" and start asking, "How can I?" Most importantly, you cease describing yourself in terms of past limitations and begin speaking from the reality you've created through these 90 days. This isn't positive thinking. It's accurate thinking, because the person completing this journey genuinely is different from the one who began it. Your words no longer describe you. They declare you. Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of this rebirth is how it alters your experience of time. The old you lived in constant oscillation between regret about the past and anxiety about the future. The new you exists in a powerful present, fully engaged in each moment because you know it's the raw material of your destiny. You've broken free from what psychologists call time poverty, that gnawing sense of never having enough hours, because you've mastered the art of turning minutes into momentum. A single hour now yields more than entire days once did, not because you work faster, but because you operate from a state of undistracted presence that most people never experience. As you approach day 90, prepare for an unexpected phenomenon. The people who knew the old you will experience cognitive dissonance. Some will celebrate your growth. Others will subtly try to pull you back to who you were, not out of malice, but because your transformation holds up a mirror to their own stagnation. This is a final test, standing firm in your new identity even when it makes others uncomfortable. The fully realized version of you doesn't need validation because you become your own benchmark. Your standards no longer fluctuate based on who's watching. They're non-negotiable because they become intrinsic to who you are. The completion of these 90 days isn't an ending. It's the beginning of a new normal. The rituals you built aren't temporary measures. They're the foundation of a life lived at peak potential. You'll continue refining them, of course, but the core truth remains. You've crossed a threshold where excellence isn't something you pursue. It's something you embody. The man or woman who finishes this journey doesn't just have better habits. They have a better soul, not in the religious sense, but in the way their entire being vibrates at a higher octave of purpose, power, and possibility. This is your phoenix moment, when you realize the person who began this journey 90 days ago no longer exists. In their place stands someone stronger, wiser, and infinitely more capable. Someone who doesn't just dream of greatness, but lives it daily. Someone who has stared down resistance and emerged victorious. Someone who knows, beyond theory, beyond doubt, that they are capable of achieving absolutely anything they commit to with this level of intensity and consistency. That knowledge, more than any specific achievement, is the ultimate prize of your transformation. Because once you know, truly know, what you're capable of, there's no going back to sleep. The fire you've kindled in these 90 days becomes an eternal flame, lighting your path forward into ever greater realms of accomplishment and self-discovery. This isn't the finish line, it's the launching pad. If this hit you like a lightning bolt, if something inside you just woke up and said, "It's time," then don't let this be another video you watch and forget. This is your moment. Your 90-day resurrection starts now. Hit that like button if you're committing to the grind. Subscribe and turn on notifications because this journey doesn't end here. We're just getting started. And when you emerge on day 90, transformed and unstoppable, I want you to come back and tell me, "I did it." The world won't recognize you. But more importantly, neither will the old you. Now go, burn the old blueprint, build the new one. I'll see you at the finish line.